Hi everybody. So I wasn't gonna film today because I have this terrible cold. Um, got the nose going and the coughing and all that. So please bear with me on this. If I end up, having a little fit there, I might have to break this into a couple different sections. Um, so yeah, thank you for being here. Please be patient. The reason I decided to film is I realized something huge is coming up. It's really a really big deal. As far as astrological aspects and some conjunctions, some trines, some things that are going to be going down, as well as tomorrow is 11/11. It's going to be a pretty big deal as far as 11/11 at 11:11 a.m. That's definitely something to take a moment to listen to yourself during that time. It's an angelic number. It's a realignment number. It's kind of just important, especially since we're in Scorpio season and with Jupiter in Scorpio, as I was talking about in one of my other videos. Lots of digging deep, lots of shadow work needs to be done. So Sunday, Pluto is going to be conjuncting Juno. That is making it even more so of a big deal to really dig deep, do the shadow work, get into your deepest wounds, get into illusions you may have, modes of thinking or belief systems that may not be serving you anymore and you may not realize it. Deconstruct societal constructs and things that you've learned in your environment and your childhood and all these deep subconscious things that you really might not ever be consciously aware of. So 11/11 is really important because it's going to be the great galactic portal. It is going to be Scorpio's gateway of transformation for everyone. Right now we're Sun in Scorpio. The moon is in Leo. Tomorrow it's going to be moving into Virgo at noon. Jupiter in Scorpio. Venus is in Scorpio. All these planets and this Pluto conjunct Juno on Sunday really want you to get down into the shit, for lack of a different way to explain it. Deep, 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 deep work. Lots and lots of shadow work is what's going to be needed. The galactic portal and the Scorpio gateway represents deep, deep reconnection to the cosmic and the spiritual realm, a spiritual realignment. It's a fantastic time to connect your soul with all of the cosmic and spiritual energies. 11/11 historically has been celebrated by many, many ancient cultures. The Egyptians, Babylonians, and in more recent history in Germany, there's been celebrations. They call out Carnival on that day. They do many different rites, feasts, celebrating equality. They believe that at that point in time, all people are equal, regardless of their social stature, whether they're a slave or a king or whatever. Everyone is equal on that day and celebrates and feasts with each other in an equal sense. There's not to be any work done 11/11. So it was really a festival of the great equalizer for everybody. What's super, super important on 11/11 is celebrate. Celebrate you. Celebrate life. Celebrate your gifts and talents. Try to work with the energies to realize what those really are. Not what people have told you they should be. Not what you, in your conscious mind and your thoughts, decided, well, this is easy for me, and yeah, I kind of like it. Maybe there's some money in it, so I'll do that. No, what really is your gifts as a unique spirit and soul in this world? Is that healing? Is that communication? Is that art? Is it music? Is it your spirituality? And some people that is a gift in itself because they have the ability to teach and lead others. so many different things. I kind of went into the art scope, but there's, a million different things that could be. But just make sure it's what is really, really you, not what you've been told to do or what you've decided to settle into. Another part of the 11/11 ancient festivals had to do with driving out the winter spirits. Everybody would dress up scary, and there'd be big parades and lots of noise making and, crazy masks and, howling and all this stuff to drive out the winter spirits so everybody can call in the light. And it has a much deeper meaning of getting into the darkness, parading around in the darkness, letting out all the scary stuff, all the nasty things and the stuff that everybody avoids all the time, to call in the light. That's the purpose right now. Just vibe with it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of your shadow side. Honor spirit tomorrow. It's a great time to meditate, realign, connect. I mean, if you really want to go for the gusto, 11/11 at 11:11 a.m., kick off everything. Do an Epsom salt bath if you happen to have the time. I know a lot of people might be working, people that work weekends. Just take, even if it's just a moment, to pause and observe. Connect, realign and connect with yourself, which will realign and connect you to spirit. Say a little meditation. It doesn't have to be over the top, doesn't have to be like an all-day event. Just take the time to honor, connect with God, spirit, whatever it is that you believe in. And also, feast. And when I say feast, I don't necessarily mean just eating. That can be feast in joy, feast in laughter, feast in friendship. Whatever fills you up and helps you be most whole and most in touch with yourself, do that. Honor that. Celebrate that. Most importantly, celebrate your endings too. That's part of chasing out winter, chasing out the dark, is endings. Once you've done the shadow work and you've honored your whole self, the dark side and the light side, and you can move forward in a whole sense, oftentimes change is going to come along with that. At minimum, of course, it's change in yourself, and it might manifest itself as change in your life at large. It might lead you to realizations or push you, in directions that you had never imagined going. Don't mind me, I'm looking at my notes here, that's why I keep looking down. Whatever they may be, as far as your endings, give thanks for what good it was that came out of whatever that situation is that's ending. There's always something good to be taken from it. There's always a lesson. There's always, and sometimes literal gifts. Like a great example is oftentimes when people, were in a horrible relationship, they end up divorcing or that kind of thing. They'll say that, my child was the best thing that came out of that. And that's just one analogy. There's tons of different ways that can play out, but there's generally always a lesson or a gift or something out of everything that ends up coming to an end. And also, after you honor that good, let it go, like super fully. This is a time of death and rebirth, endings to things. But you really have to truly let it go. Not just say you're going to, not just say, okay, this hurts, I'm not going to deal with it, I'm going to push it away for a while. I'll get back to this at some other time. This is not the time. If you do that, it's going to be blocking you spiritually from receiving the gifts that the universe wants to bring in for you right now. The two most beneficent planets, which is Venus and Jupiter, they want to do big things for you. They want to create changes. They want to help you out. They want to deliver your good karmic energy, whether it is from this lifetime or your ancestors' previous lifetimes. Sometimes good karma can be accrued that needs to be able to transcend to you after you learn a certain amount of lessons. And you can call on these gifts, but you have to do all the work so where there isn't a block. Consciously, unconsciously, let go. And it's kind of hard to do. What I say is not some flippant kind of thing. If there are certain things that have been on your mind, kind of call those back in. Uranus, I was saying in a different video, has gone retrograde in Aries. And that is speaking to the fact that a lot of people need to kind of go back and revisit something. You might need to revisit something that you've completely forgotten about. It could be in relationships. It could be in many, many different ways. It could have to do with work. It could have to do with finances. It could have to do with any area of your life. But there's something that Mercury going retrograde soon and Uranus retrograde in Aries wants you to go back and look at something. There's something that you need to revisit. And oftentimes it has to do with spirit and emotionally. Something that maybe you need to go back and re-experience, because you might re-experience it from a different side this time. Your perspective through your initial healing may have changed to where you can then go back and see this, view this in a different perspective, so it can really and truly be let go. As far as these beneficent planets, though, saying Venus, I like wandered off somewhere there. Venus and Jupiter being in Scorpio right now really, really want to give you something. Monday, they are going to conjunct, which is a huge celestial event. They're going to look like one star in the sky, basically. They're going to be so close to each other that with your eye, Venus is the morning star, the one, you'll be able to see that glow, but Jupiter's going to be right behind her. They will appear as one. So it's that conjunction in itself, and the fact that they're going to be conjunct Sun. There's multiple trines going on. Uranus and Mercury are going to be trining at the same time. Just about. It's a lot of huge events this week. We're going to have a new moon coming up too. That's going to be in Scorpio. Another big deal. All of this, every single bit of everything that's going on for really the next month. The major events are going to be happening for the next couple days, but all of this stuff wants you to dig deep and let go. Start anew. It wants to give you gifts, give you new beginnings. Okay, a theme of this portal situation tomorrow at 11:11 is going to be relationships. That has to do with kind of the house that is going to be hit with the galactic center tomorrow. It's going to be a shift in your observation, expectation, and your response to relationships. And that doesn't mean only romantic relationships or intimate relationships. It has to do with all of them. Everything at work. Work, your personal life, your relationships with your friends, your kids, people in the general public, the people that you work with at the bank, wherever you do your banking, or the grocery store that you go to often. It's looking to expand and change our perspectives on our relationships completely. It'll be pointing out and highlighting mainly how you react to the relationships in your life. So expect to have some revelations potentially if you're paying attention and you're aligned about where you might have negative traits in your communication and your relationships, where you might be a fight picker or seek out attention, seek out emotional you want comfort from your relationships, and some people have a tendency to get dramatic if they don't feel that they're getting enough attention. You might notice your attention-seeking behaviors. Just start a good place. My best way to describe it is pay attention to what it is that you're saying, your interactions with people, what you think and feel about them. The feeling is the more important part. Catch yourself in the feelings before the words start coming out, and realize, what is it, that made me feel that way, and what part deep in myself is being either upset or validated by my response to what is going on. And that's where you can check yourself on your bullshit, really. And that's where you can end up doing a lot of shadow work. Shadow work functions essentially by, once you acknowledge it consciously, you've already begun healing it because you brought it into the light. You've realized. So that is an immediate change. If you can embrace those other parts of yourself, don't judge them, don't shame them, don't push them away, don't run from them. Realize that it's you. If you see something that you don't like, that you want to change, don't look at it in a judgmental fashion. Embrace it. And maybe seek to, since you're shining the light on it, a positive trait that you have in your conscious mind, you know, give that shadow trait a little home with the positive trait that is in your conscious mind that you can attach it to. They live there together. They're one whole unit and you love them both. But now you know about it. So therefore, in your subconscious mind, it can't have any power anymore. And you're empowered to move forward and fix that trend or that habit. And I don't even want to word it that way. It's not necessarily that like your soul and your shadow needs fixing. Everyone has the shadow side. But the whole idea is to just honor fully all parts of yourself and move forward in whatever direction it is that you want to move forward with that wholeness and appreciation for all parts of you. And realize that none of this good stuff can exist without that dark side. That's kind of your subconscious anchor to a certain degree. It's all of your learned habits and ideas. Moral conflicts are stored there. All those kind of things. They have to exist. That you've got to honor both sides of yourself. If you want any growth or manifestation and you want to be able to receive your gifts, really look at all that's deep down that none of us really want to get into. Because, you know, digging deep into your dark, it's like, do you find ugly sea creatures? Like, you know, what's in there? Crazy things like you see on Discovery that like light up and have like crazy teeth. You know, there's some stuff down in there. And if you don't ever, you know, shine the light all the way to the bottom, you're never going to consciously acknowledge it, make yourself whole, and be able to move forward and move on and let go of some of these things that might be holding you back. Will you find over this weekend, in regard to your relationships, that you've been sabotaging, self-sabotaging, or acting out parts of your shadow side, like I said, in attention-seeking behavior, or you're actually bored, you know, when things are too good, you get bored and you decide, like, I'm going to start a giant fight. Because fear is exciting and fear is stimulating. And I want, you know, somebody to get all super crazy and freak me out so, you know, my heart rate can go up and, you know, look at that. Because there's very valid aspects to that. Some people really they kind of thrive on the drama, and they're not going to admit it in their conscious mind. They're always thinking, this is awful and I want out of this, and why does it always happen to me like this, and I can't manifest a good relationship and I can't make it happen and I don't know what to do. Look at the dark side. Because there's something there. There's something maybe that you learned in your childhood, that's the proper dynamic, or that you enjoy it in a way. And if you can acknowledge that you enjoy that, so freeing. You can just move forward into the positive, into the light, knowing this and loving yourself too. Don't shame yourself for it. There's nothing wrong with the way you associate or you feel about something. Now, when you start looking at, you know, the internal everything, and you're looking at the music, do you like the tune? Do you like the music? Or is it time to change the channel? If you find that it's time to change the channel, like I've been reiterating over and over, like, don't just throw all that darkness away. Work with it. Embrace it. Once you embrace everything, you can easily change the channel. So the big question after this work, and like I said, this is likely to continue heavily for a month, and really the return on these celestial events, especially the event with Juno and these conjunctions aren't going to resolve. Basically, they're not going to be cosmically answered until next October. So, excuse me, with Jupiter in Scorpio asking you to dig deep, this is a long-term energy, and, you know, there's all of these other events that are supporting it and unlocking things from the cosmos to come down and affect our emotions and affect our thoughts to facilitate these changes. What stays and what's get cut out? What are you gonna? What has to get cut out? You can answer that. Where do you need to be the King of Swords in tarot? Where do you need to be logical after you've dealt with all this watery feels and all this Scorpio, you know, death and deep and dark, and once you bring everything into the light, into the conscious mind, into the swords, what's gotta go? That's the next energy that we're going to look at. And let me say too, confusion right now, totally normal. A whole bunch of people have been feeling like, oh my God, I don't know where my life is going. Like, because in the last, you know, probably since this summer, the eclipse has kind of set off like a mass confusion. It's been internal with a lot of people. Some people admit it, some people don't. Some people kind of got the kick in the butt that, you know, they've been 6 years in the wrong path, and it sort of created a whole bunch of endings that felt super scary, and now they're on their way. And then you have these other people that, you know, massive dramatic change didn't happen in their life. A lot of changes happen more internally on the emotional level, maybe with finances, maybe with your kids, maybe in these more subtle areas, not like, you know, you're losing your house and you're getting divorced, and, you know, those are big crazies that can happen out of eclipses. But for the people that didn't have that, it's mostly this internal kind of like conflicted, confused, you know, sort of midlife crisis, existential crisis vibe that's been going on. Some people are more aware of it than others. It's totally a part of the process if you're feeling confused. If you are charging in one direction, but you're still super on the fence about it at the same time, totally part of the process right now. Stay in tune, do the work. The right people for your path are going to be on the other side when you come out. It will work itself out. Unless you're making choices that you just flat out know are wrong. If your intuition is screaming from inside you, don't do this, this person's wrong, this person's lying to you, that kind of thing. If you choose to ignore that and you don't do the emotional work, you can end up in the wrong place. I'm not saying this is foolproof. But the internal confusion, if you can just center yourself, do the work, pay attention to what it is that you're feeling before what it is that you're thinking, you're going to come out on the right side. And like I said, Venus and Jupiter really, really want to give you gifts, and they want to give you big gifts. Venus likes to give a little bit smaller gifts. Jupiter wants to give you some big stuff. As far as relationship dynamics in this 1111 portal and Scorpio transformation, love or power? Think about that for a second. Is it love or is it power dynamics? How you relate to your relationships. Is it love? Is it from a loving place? Or is it power dynamics? Does it have to do with, I own him, his body is mine, his house is mine, or her? Everything he owns is mine. That's my boyfriend. That's my girlfriend. Is it power dynamics of, does this benefit you in a social way? Does it help your social stature? Does it help your socioeconomic level? Those are all power dynamics that come into relationships. So you need to be looking at, and these planets are going to make you start looking at that. If you're on the other end of it where someone's trying to own you or own your belongings, you're probably going to start to take issue with it. It's probably going to start to make you feel some kind of way. If you can pay attention to how you feel, you can follow that, you know, down the rabbit hole and figure out, where did that come from? How did you set this up in your life? Is it serving you anymore? Is that something that maybe you need to move past, or work to flip the script, change the dynamic around, equal things out? It doesn't mean that you have to smash and throw everything away and cut everything out. Maybe adjustment is all that's needed. Maybe a complete huge change and overhaul and start over, redo. Maybe that's what's needed too. All of which is fine. But look at power dynamics. Is it love or is it power? What is ruling your relationships? Basically, the gist of this is that outmoded ideas and ideology, outmoded structures and relationships are on their way out. So basically the dynamic is that power and ownership, possession, is on its way out. And these issues will present themselves. If you are in a relationship that tends to jealousy, it's going to present itself in the next 30 days. Maybe a little longer. But keep an eye on that. And like I said, take the opportunity. If it's gross and you guys are fighting and stuff, go down the rabbit hole. Take your little candle down there. Canary in the coal mine, see what's going on. I'm going to have to make a second part to this because I'm running out of time. So I will be back with